Hello YouTube, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Quill, and I'll be your artist today. Today's video is the second installation of my 7 Sonas for 7 weeks project, where I create, well, you get the idea. In my last video, I showed you how I made the sprite you see on screen right now. In this video, I'll be creating a Sona for one fandom that I love to make characters for, Wings of Fire. For those of you who haven't read Wings of Fire, it's a book series about dragons written by Tui T. Sutherland. I won't say it's a children's series, but it's also not strictly for adults. Things can be pretty gory at times, and it addresses advanced topics like war, destiny/fate, life purpose, and much more. But it also has quite a few power, friendship saves the day moments. I'm not 100% settled on what kinds of videos I want to make in regard to the fandom. I have an awful lot of OCs for it, but they also need a massive overhaul, like most of my OCs. So until I get that figured out, today's Sona will just be one still image, maybe with a variation or two if I'm feeling generous. If I find myself making a lot of videos, I'll probably make a few more character stills, but for right now, this is what suits my needs. Unlike my last video, I didn't anticipate needing a whole lot of planning. Dragons honestly come pretty naturally to me, as they're some of the first things I ever drew, but I found myself looking for inspiration and finding some really great things, and I didn't want to limit them to a regular old mood board. Still, I tried to keep the Mila note board pretty simple, since the concept for this Sona came to me really easily. What wasn't easy, however, was following rule number 2 from the last video. As soon as I started playing around with these character concepts, I started getting ideas for this deep-sea documentary writer, but I'll save that idea for another character. Lord knows I have an abundance of sea-wing hybrids. Which, if you can't tell from the board, my Sona is a night silk sea tribrid. I could have easily kept them as just a night silk hybrid, but I love aquatic animals and sea life. Plus, I wanted to give myself more wiggle room with transferring over certain design aspects, like using sea-wing fins for the tail. Also, brief explanation for those of you who have no idea what all these wings are. In Wings of Fire, the different species of dragons differentiate themselves by their prefixes, sky, sand, ice, etc., but all share the same suffix, wing. I went with a night silk sea tribrid for a few reasons. 1, I wear a lot of black. 2, I love teal, which is a shade of blue-green. For those of you who read the books, you will know that sea wings pretty much always come in shades of blue or green. And 3, I love stars, which are exclusive to night wings. All of these are canon features of these dragons and double as design requirements that I imposed on myself in the last video. And while I said I can't give my Sona a backstory of any kind, I personally associate night wings with academia, sea wings with treasure/jewelry, and sea wings with types of art. Getting into the main details of the design, I wanted my Sona to have the slender body type of a silkwing with the scalloped scale patterns of night wings and silk wings. I went with the shorter horns of a sea wing to match the shorter horns on my main Sona, and used the silkwing antenna to give the illusion of braided hair. I also used the sea wing webbing on their tail to resemble the original cow-like design. I couldn't decide between the bat-like nose of a nightwing or the more slender design of the other two, but I ultimately went with something a little more silkwing because that's closer to my real-life nose. I did a quick thumbnail to plan out the colors, since they're more complicated than I'm used to. I tried to mimic something similar to real-life animal coloring, especially sea animals, as they're typically darker from above and lighter from below. So I put the black on top, followed by the teal, then white on the belly. The purple and the red were a little hard to fit in together, so I made them iridescent accents, as if you could only see them from a certain angle. This is how I imagine a lot of the silkwings and nightwings to look, but it's also a feature that would really complement sea wings in non-canon colors. Speaking of non-canon design choices, what are some of your favorite headcanons? I've only recently started letting myself break out of canon restrictions, and I would love to get some ideas for my character redesigns. Right now, I mainly like things with different horn types. Ram horns for mud wings, antlers for ice wings, things like that. I also like texture variations, like moth morphs for silk wings and feathers for sky wings. And pattern variations. My god, do I love pattern variations. Spots and rosettes for sand wings and ice wings, stripes for mud wings and night wings, dappling for sea wings and rain wings, or wing variations for leaf wings. There's so many great ideas out there, it's hard to pick a favorite. I did see this one artist, Fractal on Instagram, who drew some Nightwing eye concepts. different variations and presentations of the Mind Reader teardrop depending on which moons they were born under, and what future sight dragons would get. They had blood moon and eclipse ideas, and it was all really interesting. That's the kind of world building meets headcanon that I would love to have in my world, so please share your favorite headcanons in the comments below. To talk a little more about the art than the design, I actually struggled a lot. I feel like the things I actually create fall so short of what I want to create and should be able to create. So I made sure to fill a board with references, mostly Biohazardia and Aegean with a little bit of Pigeon Studios. I can't really pick between a more realistic or cartoony style, so I'd like to practice with both until I find one that's satisfying. While I would love to make purely OC content, I know fandom content does perform better on here. So my question is this: what kind of fandom content would you like to see? Personally, I really love family trees, genetics, and hybrid videos, but I could also swing for some reimagining what this character would look like with X headcanons, or if X character was from a different tribe, or even just generally imposing my design preferences onto the canon characters. Do you remember those art trends that would go around where you draw the same character as they're described in the book, as the fandom describes them, and as you like to design them? It's kind of like that. I think it could be a really interesting type of video to do, especially with how varied the characters are and how varied the canon designs could be. Like Sunny. I won't give any spoilers, even though these books are kind of getting up there in age. Sunny has abnormal coloring for a sandwing. She's bright golden instead of pale yellow or a pale cool-toned yellow. She's just bright golden. And I've seen some really cool designs where people make her black and pale or dusky and dark and almost dusty. And I've seen other designs where people keep her bright golden coloring but give her so many more details and changes based on what we find out about her. I plan on making a bunch of adopts and hybrid videos because those are my absolute favorite, but I'm trying to find different niches of content that I don't see very often. So please, let me know what you would like to see from me. I decided I'm going to do a ref sheet separate from the sprite artwork for every Sona in this series. That way I'll have plenty of references for future artwork or fan work. I hope you know I don't say any of this expecting fan art, but I might as well make it easier for the future. I'm really excited about this channel, and I hope I can make content that's somewhat enjoyable for others. While I love art and creating things, my real goal is to help people. I found so much solace in these books and the community and all the amazing YouTubers out there. I hope to bring others that same kind of entertainment and peace. Well, I hope I didn't get too sappy there. The art is finished, and while I do feel like there's room for improvement, I'm satisfied with the work. I'm super excited to work on my skills and see what designs come next. So, with all that being said, I'll see y'all in the next video where I trade scales for fur.